Hello and welcome to Movies You Miss Podcast. I'm V.
I'm John.
And usually we love to discuss movies without spoiling them, but I'm going to go ahead and put a spoiler alert right here and let everybody know that I already know John didn't like the movie I chose this week. Yes, it's very unfortunate. However, you'll have to wait a little bit for that because I will be the second to go this week since we are on an odd episode. And for this week's episode, we are discussing two sci-fi movies that are full of daddy issues. A very specific subgenre, but I actually think these two movies pair well together. They're a little bit different in terms of how they tell their story and certainly how they're made. I think this will be a good discussion, especially because we're going to be fighting by the end of the episode. But also in general, just talking about how these movies were made. I think they're both really well put together, and there's some big names behind both of them, so I'm excited to get into it.
As am I. I haven't seen my pick in a handful of years, and actually had not seen your pick, V, since the theatrical release.
Oh, wow. So it's been nearly 30 years.
It has been nearly 30 years.
Okay. Well, I would ask how you're doing today, but I'm going to skip that since I know you didn't like my movie, and I don't want to talk to you very much right now. So,
Whoa.
No, I'm kidding. And this is a preview, actually, for next week's episode where we pick movies the other one hates, like legitimately hates. So strap in. We're going to have a couple weeks of animosity here on this show.
Absolutely. I think our audience needs to buckle up for this week's episode.
Well, it doesn't happen that often on this podcast that we disagree. We'll see how strongly by the end of the episode. All right, let's get into our sci-fi movies with some daddy issues this week.
Sounds good to me.
And since this is an odd episode, you go first.
All right, let's do it. Let's jump into this flick from 2000. This film is written by Toby Emmerich, directed by Gregory Hoblit. This film stars Dennis Quaid, Jim Caviezel, Andre Braugher, Elizabeth Mitchell, Noah Emmerich, and Sean Doyle. This is Frequency.
It took me a while to recognize Elizabeth Mitchell in this movie because she's normally a blonde.
I know, yeah, she's got the dark hair. I actually kind of prefer her with the dark hair.
Yeah, although I'm a big fan of her in Lost where she played Jules.
Oh, I've never seen Lost, but I did love her, even though her character was horrific in Running Scared, and I do love her in Santa Claus 2.
That's right. She wasn't Running Scared. Oh, yeah. She was so terrifying in that role. That's right.
Yeah, it's all coming back to you now, isn't it?
It really is. And she plays Santa Claus's wife. I totally forgot.
Yes. Yeah, I think I might throw the Santa Claus 2 on my Christmas list. I enjoy that one. Not many people did, but I liked it.
Just don't put the Santa Claus 3 on your list.
Oh, that's for sure. So that is the cast of this flick. This flick is such a kick-ass original idea. I will never forget watching it for the first time. My family rented it. We all gathered around the TV, had some popcorn, and they just told this story so uniquely. And if you've not seen Frequency, let's break this movie down a little bit. We meet Frank Sullivan, played by Dennis Quaid. He's a firefighter. We meet his son, John, who he calls Little Chief. And we meet, of course, Elizabeth Mitchell, who plays John's mother in the 60s. They are a baseball-loving family, big Mets fans, the amazing Mets, all that kind of stuff. And Frank has this CB radio that he kind of fools around with. And I've seen CB radios in several other movies, Lost World Jurassic Park being one of them. But anyway, moving on with Frequency. We have met the Sullivan family. They are baseball fans. They live in Queens, New York. Kind of reminded me of the neighborhood I stayed in for the month and a half that I worked on Yellow Fever, which ended up being Front Cover, which we covered many, many episodes here at Movies You Miss Podcast.
Mm-hmm. I love that movie.
Yeah, me too. It was a good time. So Frequency, other than the Sullivan family, we are introduced to Satch, who is a very close friend of the family, played by Andre Braugher. He is a police detective in the Queens PD. We also get a little bit of exposition surrounding a series of murders that ultimately are being called the Nightingale murders, where a bunch of nurses have been killed. Fast forward 30 years exactly from 1969 to 1999. It is the night of a beautiful Aurora Borealis over Queens, and John is hanging out with Gordo, who is one of his childhood friends, and Gordo's brought his son with him. Gordo's son ends up finding the CB radio in John's closet and asks John if he can hook it up. John's like, why not? Let's see if we can reach anybody. They connect it. Nothing comes about it after a little bit of time. Gordo ends up leaving with his boy, and John forgets to turn this thing off. He's kind of putzing around the house, drinking a little bit of scotch, and a voice starts to come through the CB radio. John sits down, starts to have a conversation with this voice, And we ultimately find out that this voice is Frank Sullivan, hailing him from 1969. Of course, John thinks this is a massive hoax. He's not buying into it. Frank, at the same time, is having a bit of disbelief of the fact that he's potentially talking to his grown son. During this whole exchange, we end up finding out that Frank ultimately ended up passing away in a very intense fire at a warehouse, and John tells him about this event, which ultimately the next day is when this is supposed to happen. As Frank goes on this call at this warehouse, he ultimately ends up changing the trajectory of his life, surviving this whole thing, and new memories are starting to come into John's head. John's living with the fact that he has memories of now this brand new reality where Frank has survived the fire, and everybody in John's life, that is their reality of him having survived that fire. So other people in John's life don't actually know that he has been conversing with his father in the past. And one thing leads to another, where John starts to enlist the help of his father to start solving these Nightingale murder cases. And while this is good news for John as a detective, it's not really the greatest news for reality, because as we all know, there is such thing as the butterfly effect. There is a great movie called The Butterfly Effect. This movie deals with that saying and that phenomenon, where if you ultimately change one thing in the past, it could completely change your timeline, similar to Back to the Future. So one thing leads to another, where Frank ultimately screws up in the past and ultimately brings the Nightingale murders a lot closer to home than either of these men wanted. And for the rest of the movie, we are along for this really awesome sci-fi ride, this familial drama. And for the rest of the movie, we are along for the ride with John and Frank as they both try to help each other in the past and the quote-unquote present, which is Frank's future, solve these Nightingale murders and track down the original killer from the 60s. And like I said, I have not watched this movie in a handful of years, but it's always been one since the first time I've watched that anytime I bring it up, it is certainly a movie for this podcast, because the last few people that I talked to about this movie was within the last 10 years. And I remember being like, man, have you guys seen that movie Frequency? And they were, oh my gosh, that movie's so kick-ass, so original. And it still holds up as being completely kick-ass, completely original. Dennis Quaid is awesome, and I really like Jim Caviezel in this movie. It's just such a fascinating movie. I'm really glad that we were able to bring it to the podcast, because I truthfully don't know how many of our listeners even know that it exists. So I hope that this, similar to Dick Tracy and The Rocketeer last week, this is a perfect movie for the podcast. I'm a big fan of this movie. My family members are big fans of this movie. It's certainly one of those rewatchable, entertaining flicks. It's super intense, too. Like, there are moments in this movie that I actually forgot about. It reminded me of The Bone Collector, also. Just really creepy, super ominous. The bad guy in this movie always scared the hell out of me, especially when I first saw this movie. He was just cast perfectly. I thought the casting in the movie was great, and the soundtrack is awesome. So, Vee, I'm curious what your opinion is on Frequency now. I'm just not sure when you last saw it, so let me know what you think of Frequency after however many years it's been for you.
Well, unfortunately, I don't watch Frequency very frequently. I do love this movie. I have seen it a handful of times, actually a bunch of times, especially because it was always on TNT or one of the basic cable networks. And so I've seen the second half of this movie a ton of times, whereas the first half I hardly remember, because I used to catch it on cable and then I'd sit down and watch the rest of the movie because it's really, really good. And so no matter how far along you're into it, you're like, okay, I'll sit down and watch the rest of this. Totally. It's great. I love this film. I want to say my dad introduced me to it. I'll check with him and make sure that's true, but I'm pretty sure that's who let me know this movie existed, because I absolutely love it. I always forget that it's a crime thriller too, because for me, loving time travel movies the way I do, I always think of it as kind of this time travel movie where they're talking across the airwaves because of this amazing solar flare that's happening. And so Aurora Borealis are happening in tandem in 1969 and also in 1999 to help them communicate. And you're right. I love the concept. I thought it was beautifully executed, and it's also a wonderful family movie, even though it's creepy and full of murders. Like the whole theme of this movie is familial connections and what people do for their family members, and it's very beautiful in a lot of ways. I thought that's why it was a good pairing for this week and for our theme. I think in the beginning of the movie, I think that in the 1999 scenes, Gordo's little son, isn't that a young Michael Cera?
It absolutely is.
Oh my
yeah.
God, okay. It only came up this time watching it around. I thought I
Right.
realized who it was. I had no idea otherwise. I like that both of our movies have very similar openings, which are
Yes.
zoom out shots from the Earth.
Yeah.
And also with radio signals overlaid, which I thought was really cool. The way they demonstrate talking in the past and talking to each other across time, I really love how they executed that. There's a point where they're passing each other something, and that was really cool.
Oh, that was so awesome.
And also how things change or are repaired. There's a scene where the CB radio accidentally gets broken in 1969, and so it's then broken in 99. And how they do the repair on that, that scene's burned in my brain. I will always remember that scene no matter what.
Yep.
Things
so
like
cool.
that. Yeah, it was just really creative, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Nice.
The only thing I will say is the aging makeup isn't great, which is pretty common in movies in general. Aging makeup just usually doesn't hold up at all. It's similar to VFX, actually, in that way.
Sure.
So other than that, though, I think this movie doesn't feel like it's 25 years old at all. And so I think that it still totally holds up. It was very entertaining. It's very suspenseful in a lot of scenes as well. I love Andre Braugher in this movie so much. It's so good to see him being a cop again. I know a lot of people see him in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as a cop, but I originally saw him back when I was like 10 in the early 90s with this movie called Homicide: Life on the Street. That's where I first was introduced to him. He's such a good actor and he's great as a cop. So that's always really fun to see as well. But the best thing about this movie is the end. The ending is so badass.
Yeah, it's so kick-ass indeed.
Everything comes together so well, and you're across time, and just how this family deal. It's so good. And also how it's shot is really important of making this ending as climactic as it is. And so, I was so glad that you picked it for the podcast. I'm so happy that after a few years of not seeing it, that it still totally holds up. Highly recommend this film. I'd be happy to recommend it to just about anyone because I think it's really good. And you're right. A lot of people have either forgotten about it or never watched it in the first place.
And I hope that changes after this episode drops.
Yeah, me too.
Like you were saying with the fixing of the CB radio, I will never forget the first time watching this movie. And while John and Frank are both yelling back and forth at each other about how one cannot be the other, Frank burns the desk. And John's like, "You just burnt the desk. I'm seeing the burn on the desk." And I will just, my mind just completely blew out of my skull. And, we'd seen time travel movies before, especially with the Back to the Future movies coming out in the 80s. But the way that, like you said, the execution of so many different scenes and the back and forth with Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel on the CB radio is so killer. And I love the moment where Frank even burns in a message on the desk for John to find later. And it's like, oh my gosh. And like you said, passing things through time. That when I first saw this movie and Frank puts the wallet in under the floorboard and John pulls it out and it's all dusty. It's been sitting there for 30 years. Really, it's really just instantaneous. But the use of time it's similar to Christopher Nolan movies. Like the way that time is used just boggles the mind. And it was executed so very well in this movie.
And I love how they use current events to prove to each other that it really was John in the future, his son, completely grown up 30 years later. And how they handled, because that's the thing, is that there's so many times in movies where someone will say, "I'm from the future, I'm your long lost daughter," or whatever big, huge revelation is supposed to be written, right? And the person who's receiving that information goes, "Oh my God, no way." Okay, yeah, I totally believe you, right? It's like they turn around and they're like, "Yep, I'm bought in." And it's so ridiculous how quickly someone will believe that, where in reality, your mind is breaking. You are absolutely not going to believe anything this person says, and it's going to take quite a while for you to be convinced. Now, of course, for time constraints in movies, they need to edit that down. However, you're not going to believe it right off the bat. You're not going to believe it because someone says, "No, Mom, don't you understand? My favorite color's red." And then the mom goes, "Oh my God, it is you." No, that's not how it happens at all. So yes, the fact that they used some key events in history for John to prove that he's his father's son 30 years in the future, I thought was so well done. And it takes a couple of times them talking for this to really be accepted. And I just thought they handled that really, really well.
I agree, fully. This film was written by Toby Emmerich, and there is another Emmerich in this movie, Noah Emmerich. He plays Gordo. They are family members.
Are they also related to Roland Emmerich?
Nope, they are not
What?
related to Roland. I know, it's crazy.
They were related to the director of all of the movies that we talk about, including Godzilla.
Nope, no relation.
Not one of his good movies, but that's the first one that popped into my head. Independence Day. Jesus
Right?
Christ. Sorry.
Oh, Independence Day. You said Godzilla. Well, Godzilla is another Roland Emmerich movie, yeah.
I know. Godzilla was the first movie that popped into my head, and I knew that was the shit movie of his. I needed to redeem myself by saying a good movie of his.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That's not a common name. I'm actually surprised they're not all related.
I know, when I used to see Noah or Toby Emmerich's name, I'm like, oh, that's got to be Roland Emmerich's kid or Roland Emmerich's uncle or whatever.
That's what I was thinking,
What
too.
have you. But no relation.
Okay.
This movie was directed by Gregory Hoblet. He did not do a whole lot, but he did direct Primal Fear, and he directed a film with Denzel Washington called Fallen, which is a really badass flick. He also directed several episodes of NYPD Blue and The Americans, and a TV show that I always wanted to watch that Guillermo del Toro produced called The Strain. And I heard that
Oh
was
my
a
God.
really, really awesome series.
So good. I watched it with my dad. I think I've told you once before to watch it. It's amazing. But
Yes,
it's funny
you
because
have.
you were like, oh, this movie was directed by, and I was waiting for you to say Roland Emmerich.
I wonder what it would have been like under Roland Emmerich's direction.
A lot more explosions.
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
more one-liner quips.
Very true, very true. Early on in this movie, there is a huge fire sequence. Granted, Frank is a firefighter, but in the firefighter sequences, especially in the warehouse, everybody on screen except for Dennis Quaid and one of the other actors are actually all Queens firefighters.
I was hoping that was the case because those fires looked really intense.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Especially the opening sequence with that massive truck exploding. That was intense.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me a lot of the crash of the liquid nitrogen in Terminator 2, actually, where the jackknife truck happens.
Yes. On April 25th of 2000, the Mets and the Cincinnati Reds all played a game wearing their 1969 uniforms to promote this movie.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought so. This movie is very heavily influenced on baseball, and that's another thing about how, like you mentioned earlier, certain events happen that come to realization for Satch's character, and they're all baseball related. And one thing that I've always had a pet peeve about is, in movies such as this, in the past, not every movie, because I know for a fact that Back to the Future had a lot of the sports almanac stuff correct. This movie has a whole bunch of World Series facts that are all true. That was just an interesting piece of trivia to actually find out that all of these sports statistics talked about in this movie were true.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I knew some of them when they were talking about them. And that's the other thing about this movie, though, is, and maybe that's why, I'm not exactly sure the box office, of course you'll tell me in a minute, but if it didn't do that well in the box office, I'm wondering if it's a genre problem because we talked about this being a time travel movie. We also talked about this being a crime thriller. It's also kind of a baseball movie.
Yeah, totally.
And the Amazing Mets always remind me of Men in Black 3 as well.
Absolutely. There was 2 injuries on this set. Dennis Quaid ended up getting 16 stitches during the scene where he goes down that funnel in the warehouse. He smashed his head on a piece of wood, and it would not have happened had he been wearing his helmet, but for the scene and for the camera, he had to remove the helmet, and that is ultimately what caused him to be sent to the hospital to get 16 stitches.
That's got to be really scary as an actor because if you're hit in the face or head, think about, oh God, am I about to be scarred? Is this going to be a major issue? This is shutting down production because I'm not there. That I would believe would be really scary for somebody like him.
I can imagine so. The other injury on set was Elizabeth Mitchell. She broke her nose during the production of this movie.
Oh, during that one scene?
I imagine that's the scene that that it happened in.
Oh God, that's gotta hurt so bad.
I can only imagine.
Oh.
I've never been punched in the face, but I can only imagine how painful it is. Especially if your nose gets broken, that's gotta really suck.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, the breaking of the cartilage in the nose has gotta be just
Yeesh.
the sharpest pain. Ugh.
Eh,
I have been
no
punched
thanks.
in the face, but I was a young kid. It didn't really count.
That was back when you were invincible.
I mean, it was back when we were kids, and so, I mean, kids hitting
Yeah.
each other, whatever.
It wasn't me, was it?
No, it wasn't. No,
No,
we've
I
never
know,
hit each
sorry.
other. We've never,
Nope, just emotionally.
Those are much more severe injuries.
Yes, they are. Can count the scars I've made over the last 3 years.
3. Try 27.
Oh, yeah, well, that's very true. There was an actor that was attached to be in this movie in 1997 with another director. Rennie Harlan was the director, and the actor that was attached to be in the movie with Rennie Harlan directing was Sylvester Stallone.
Ew, no, absolutely not.
He asked for too much money, and they decided
Thank
to scrap
God.
the project with him involved in it.
Ugh.
That's my terrible Stallone
That's
impression.
okay. You sound exactly like him, actually, because he sounds that awful.
Well, great. There were several other actors in consideration to play Frank Sullivan. I'm just going to list them off because some of them, we'll see.
Should
Mel
I give
Gibson.
you yes or no?
Yeah, you should give me the yes or no.
Okay.
Mel Gibson was one of them.
Yes.
Harrison Ford was another.
Totally. Of course.
Michael Keaton.
He doesn't see. He always just seemed like such a city guy to me.
I completely agree. Bruce Willis.
Yeah, definitely.
Patrick Swayze. I don't think so.
No.
I'm going to go with no on that one. Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon.
Definitely. Oh, he would have
Kevin
been
Bacon,
so
for sure.
good.
Yeah, Bacon would have been awesome.
Oh, that would have been a great movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. Dennis Quaid was fantastic in this film.
Hell yeah. Yeah, but Kevin Bacon is pretty awesome. He's got a new show on Amazon right now called Bounty or something like that, where he's a bounty hunter hunting demons. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Okay, I'd watch that.
Yeah. And he's actually in a very underrated horror movie called Stir of Echoes that came out in the 90s. That movie is badass.
As long as you weren't about to say the Invisible Man remake, because that movie is awful.
No, I didn't see that one. Even though Elizabeth Shue was in it, I always did want to see it, but I heard it was bad.
Terrible.
And Jeff Bridges was one of the other actors in consideration to play Frank Sullivan.
Definitely.
I could totally see Jeff Bridges doing that. That would have been pretty
he's
cool.
such a great father figure, for sure.
Yeah, he is. Now, Frequency came out on April 28th of 2000. It had a budget of $31 million.
That is really low compared to what it could have been, given all the visual effects they did, and
Oh, yeah.
that's impressive.
I agree. Unfortunately, it didn't do too well domestic box office-wise. It only pulled in $45 million.
Aw.
And worldwide, $68.1 million.
So it wasn't a bomb, it just wasn't
Yeah.
great.
No, it wasn't. 2000 was a hell of a year. We've done 2000 before because the highest grossing film of 2000 was one of my past picks for a Christmas episode, if you remember, V.
Well, you've actually picked 2 Jim Carrey Christmas movies, so that's kind of tough.
Yes, I know. This one, how can I give you a hint on this one?
Well, is
it's
it
2000.
traumatizing, or was it bright and shiny?
It was not traumatizing.
Okay,
and it was
so-
very bright and shiny.
It's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, not
Yes.
the motion capture
Christmas
version
Carol.
of A Christmas Carol. Okay.
Yes, the most horrifying version of Christmas Carol that
Well,
exists
especially-
today. Ignorance and want, horrible, absolutely terrifying.
I actually think Jacob Marley was more terrifying.
Yeah, Marley was pretty twisted up too, no pun intended. But 2000 was a pretty good year for movies, that being the highest grossing film. Number 3 was Gladiator. Number 6, The First X-Men. Number 7, Scary Movie. Number 8, V, a past pick of yours for the first year that we did horror movies of What Lies Beneath.
Mm-hmm. Another Robert Zemeckis film.
Yeah, that's right. We're about to be discussing him shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 was Dinosaur, the animated Disney flick. Number 15, The Patriot. Number 16, What Women Want. Mel Gibson certainly had a good 2000 because number 17 was Chicken Run.
Jesus.
Yeah, 3 top 20 movies in that year. Number 21 was a past pick of mine of Space Cowboys. Number 33, a movie that you are going to put on the list in the future with Samuel L. Jackson called Rules of Engagement.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee Jones. That's a really good film.
That's right, yes. Number 46, the original Final Destination. Number 48, V, a past pick of yours, Galaxy Quest. And the 55th highest grossing film of 2000, my pick for this week, of Frequency.
Hey, 55. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. So that is Frequency. It is currently not streaming on any free service. You can rent it on Apple or Amazon for $3.99. It is a great flick. Give it a shot. And if you have seen it before, let us know what you think. And now I think it's time, V, to jump into your pick this week. Let's make some contact!
All right, thank you so much for that intro. Yes, I am here to talk about the 1997 movie starring Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. This is Contact.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your opinions to yourself until I at least am given a chance to explain the plot to our audience, okay?
That's what we do here.
We'll get to your wrong opinion in a minute. And so... Contact is a movie about a young woman, Ellie Arroway. We first am introduced to her as a young child. She's growing up in a single-parent household with her father, and very quickly we realize that she's very intelligent. Funny enough, this movie starts off with CB radio, connection to your film.
Yeah.
And Ellie becomes very excited about contacting people via the CB radio, and she keeps working on contacting people further and further away from her home in the United States. And that actually starts her love with radio waves, communications, messaging. And she becomes an astronomer and grows up to become Jodie Foster. And her work centers around the SETI project, which is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This is a real-life organization.
Hell yeah, SETI! We all know what SETI is.
For a lot of us who love astronomy and aliens, yes, that's true. And also, it's been mentioned in multiple movies before. That's how I first learned about it when I was much younger. But the problem comes from the fact that she's literally looking for alien signals, alien communications. And in the world of academia and also scientists in general, but in a world with academia and her fellow scientists, this is a project that is often mocked. She's made fun of all the time. They try to shut SETI down. And there is this one scientist named Dr. David Drumlin, played by Tom Skerritt, who is just super heavy-handed, tries to control her, tries to shut down her projects any chance he gets. He's an all-around douche in this movie.
Yes.
But that does not deter her. She is very determined on this project. She knows that there must be life out there somewhere. And this is one of my favorite quotes of the whole movie, and a quote that I still use to this day. I've loved it ever since I was a kid when I first started watching this film. And it's actually a quote from Carl Sagan, and he says, "If it's just us, it seems like an awful waste of space."
Oh, yeah. There was an ex-girlfriend of mine back in the day, and I was having a conversation with her about the fact that it's absolutely impossible for us to be the intelligent species of the universe. And she was convinced that we were. And I was like, that is the most ignorant and arrogant thing I think I've ever heard out of your mouth.
Well, especially classifying our species as the intelligent life form. Thank God she's an ex. And there's also a conversation in the movie about this, about the likelihood of, because there's so many opportunities, because there's so many billions of stars and planets, even on just our galaxy, the likelihood of some form of intelligent life being around. And this is actually another quote from the movie that I love.
Yeah, there are 400 billion stars out there just in our galaxy alone. If only one out of a million of those had planets, all right, and if just one out of a million of those had life, and if just one out of a million of those had intelligent life, there would be literally millions of civilizations out there.
So at one point, Ellie is listening in and is basically just static. That is her life. She listens to static. There are radio waves that are coming in from outer space, and all she's hoping for is to hear a signal, and as well as the rest of her team. And one night, she does. A signal comes through from the star Vega, which is only 26 light years away, and Ellie and her team, understandably, flip out. They also make sure to verify all of this because, of course, not only are people not taking her seriously, but if this is as monumental a moment as they think it is, they want to make sure to get it right. So all of her team verifies that this is in fact true, and then it blows up from there. Other stations around the world are starting to record this signal. The government gets involved, and now they have verified that there is a signal that has come through that is not Earth-based, and they're trying to figure it out. They try to translate it, and now Ellie is swept up in this huge military government project, and of course all the governments start fighting amongst each other about who gets to try to translate the signal and what does it mean, and well, it came to the Americans first, so the Americans are going to get it. And then Ellie and her team was like, actually, we discovered it. The government and the White House need to back the fuck off because now the military is getting involved and there's a bunch of guns everywhere. And it's that classic moment in the movie where Thor's hammer dropped into the ground and S.H.I.E.L.D. came in and took over the whole place, right? Or when the meteor falls in Evolution and David Duchovny and Orlando Jones get kicked out of there too, right?
Yes.
But it is true. This is an alien message. That is, in fact, the case. And what they do is they end up translating this signal. And not only is it comprehensible, but also it turns out there are blueprints in this message. There's several layers of this message that they come across. And deep within it are these blueprints to build some sort of object. Now, again, the military is involved. They, including James Woods as the national security advisor, playing the perfect angry little weasel guy that he always plays, and he's always so good at it. You just want to punch him in his stupid face every single time you see him on screen. I know it's a little bit typecast for him, but he's so good at playing this smarmy character. And so I was so happy he was in this role. The role was actually written for him, which is perfect.
Oh, awesome.
And him and his military advisors are throwing out that, no, maybe it's a doomsday device, and whatever intelligent species receives this signal and interprets it, then they'll build this and they'll kill their planet, and that's a defense mechanism for these aliens. And of course, Jodie Foster's like, what? No, that's so convoluted. If they had that much technology, why wouldn't they just blow our planet up themselves or something? And clearly, this is not an aggressive message at all. There's no aggressiveness whatsoever in this message. And so after a whole lot of debate, all the multiple governments of the world band together to build this device. Because the theory is that it's a transport. It's going to transport a single human out to Vega. And so now they're all debating who should be sent. And this is right where David Drumlin, who has been mocking Ellie this entire time for years and years, he's been putting roadblocks in her way. He's been cutting funding to her projects because he's just so vindictive, apparently.
Yeah.
But now that there's this signal and it's a big deal, he starts taking all of the credit. And I cannot tell you how many times this has happened to me or some of the other female coworkers in my career who have had their ideas or their suggestions or their projects stolen by male coworkers and talked over in meetings and things like that. And so there are so many times in this movie that I was just so frustrated for Ellie because I've been there and understand. And she tries to rein things back in, but of course they dismiss her, and it helps in terms of the messaging that she is such a small woman. There's a moment where she's standing with James Wood and Tom Skerritt and a couple other guys, and she's tiny compared to them. And they're basically just pushing her out of the way. So David Drumlin is now in the running for this seat on this transport. So are several people from other countries, and as well as Ellie, because she discovered the message. And there's a moment where Ellie and David actually confront each other about this situation and about how awful he's being. I really liked her response to this.
Ellie, I know you must think this is all very unfair. Maybe that's an understatement. What you don't know is I agree. I wish the world was a place where fair was the bottom line, where the kind of idealism you showed at the hearing was rewarded, not taken advantage of. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world.
Funny. I've always believed that the world is what we make of it.
Basically saying that you're a dickhead because you choose to be.
Yep.
And so now for the rest of the movie, we continue to follow Ellie while they decide who goes on this transport. We also get to witness all of humans' reactions to this situation, which I really, really like how they did that, because there's a whole bunch of people who think it's the end of times, a whole bunch of people who are excited about aliens. There's a company that's selling alien abduction insurance, which is a real company, by the way, in real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess why not? Why not?
Yeah, and I think all the reactions are great because it's definitely different levels of paranoia or elation, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's also Matthew McConaughey's character named Palmer. The cool thing is that he is the other side of this coin, where Ellie is a very clinical, she's not cold, but she is a very clinical scientist. He is more spiritual. He had gone to seminary school, and he believes that technology is actually harming humans. There are elements of what he's saying that I completely agree with. He's saying that our lives are the most convenient that they've ever been, but we are the most lonely that we've ever been as well. That technology is separating us, that is killing our connection with each other and our empathy, and we are isolating ourselves through technology. And this movie was made in 97, and it is more accurate today in terms of that description of technology than it ever was over 25 years ago. And I'm so impressed with that.
That's Zemeckis for you.
Yes, and we'll get into him in a little bit. So Matthew McConaughey met Ellie back years ago when she was working in Costa Rica, actually, on this big dish that has appeared in several different movies, including GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And they have remained friendly over the years as they've run into each other again and again. And he comes into play because he's also an advisor to this White House panel that is discussing who's going to be selected, and before that even, what the hell they're going to do about this message. And so we continue to follow Ellie in this project, as well as a billionaire benefactor of hers who is very kooky. I like him a lot in this movie. And really just following humanity and how they respond to receiving this message and what happens as they build this device that was sent to them from another species. And here's the thing about this movie. I thought it was really boring as a teen. I thought it was too sentimental in my 20s. And now I'm Goldilocks, and I think this movie is just right. I love this film. It's long. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but I actually don't think there's any scene that should be deleted. I love that we dive in and set up Ellie as a person and go through her career. And also, this is a very complex story. And once they receive this message, you can't just jump ahead for that, right? You have to go through the government and building and what happens and all these different characters who all have their own motivations coming into play. And so I don't think the movie feels long. I think it is necessary. And I haven't watched this movie in a handful of years, but I absolutely love it now. And I'm so happy that I've grown to love it in the way that I do. I now actually recommend it, whereas before I didn't. I've seen it 6 times. I've seen it many more times. I only saw it the first time in my teens and then in my 20s. And I didn't watch it again for years and years and years. And then in the last, I would say 7 years or so, I've watched it many more times since then. And so I've grown to really love it. And it was really funny though, because I haven't seen it in a few years and the movie starts and young Ellie is played by Jenna Malone.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, God damn it.
Yeah. I thought that was Evan Rachel Wood.
So did
I don't know why I thought that.
Because it looks like Evan Rachel Wood. It does not look like Jenna Malone at all, which helps,
does not
by the way.
look like Jenna Malone.
But then she started talking with that little precocious know-it-all attitude, and I was like, God damn it.
No. Seriously.
I'm so glad we can at least agree that we both hate Jenna Malone.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really love this movie. But it did hit me. I was like, oh, God, what a way to start for John.
Yep, big time.
There's a character that Jake Busey plays in this movie that I think is really fascinating and also a very necessary character given the storyline.
Yep.
There's an end reveal that is so great that hits you in the face. I love it so much, especially the first time I watched it. I was like, holy shit! Made me really happy. And so that is my description of Contact. And before I get into everyone who starred in it and a few behind the scenes pieces of trivia, I don't have a ton, but the ones I do have, I really enjoy. But for now, I'm going to pause and let John try to tear this thing apart.
All right, let's get into my Contact experience. I have not seen Contact in 28 years. Jesus. I have not seen Contact since its theatrical release. I saw this in theaters. I was so excited as a kid. I remember liking it up to a point. And that point for me, I think, and I'm almost positive it was the moment where the romance starts to take hold of Ellie and McConaughey's character. I was not into it. However, not just that, my parents didn't like the movie either. And I was young and impressionable, still had my own opinions, but this was one of those movies that just followed me for the last 28 years of being like, no. So watching it this time around, I was looking forward to, because I'm now 28 years older. 28 years later.
That really sucked.
Yes, it did. And I got to revisit it, thankfully, because you chose it for this podcast with my pick of frequency. And I think it's definitely a great pairing. What to say about Contact that I haven't felt before? I fucking loved this goddamn movie.
What? Nuh-uh.
Oh, fuck yeah, I did. I loved it
you
so
liar!
Much. I loved it. No, I loved the fucking hell out of it. I, however, did not like the love sequence, the whole romantic thing. That was my biggest problem with the movie. If that had not happened, this movie, in my eyes, would be a perfect 90s movie. It just was unnecessary, in my personal opinion. It just felt like they were needing something else.
Yes.
Super forcing. Like, all of a sudden, they meet, and 10 seconds later, they bang, and then
that's
he
never happened to you
bounces,
before?
and just for whatever reason, in the movie, it just didn't feel right to me. And I think
you had me
McConaughey
going
was a
for
bit miscast.
Yeah, I agree, because he's McConaughey. I totally agree.
But this is 90s McConaughey, and he's been in stuff
I think
before.
somebody
but it just
more
didn't...
scholarly a little more
Yeah,
nerdy,
and
maybe?
nothing against McConaughey.
No,
I'm sure he's got a great head on his shoulders, but it just
It just didn't
for
fit.
the 90s, I don't.
No.
Yeah, give me. I don't know. I don't know who, but just not McConaughey, and that's just for me.
I agree. Oh my god, you had me going for a whole week trying to defend this film.
I did.
Phew.
I had you going a long time. No, there were some jaw-dropping moments. I cheered during this fucking movie.
Mhm.
There's a moment with Busey that blew me the
Right?
fuck away.
Yeah.
I did not, and I don't remember anything from this movie
Mhm.
except when she's on the hood of her car and she puts the headphones on because I remember it from the trailer.
Yep,
and I remember
exactly.
her and McConaughey being in bed, and then I remember her in the device. That's all I remembered for 28 fucking years. So watching this movie again, understanding the dialogue, thankfully, because of my love for science fiction and space and all of this shit. This movie is so fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It breaks
That's what
my
I've been
fucking heart
saying.
that it took me 27 years to watch it again.
Well, and that's what I didn't understand. Because
No, I loved it.
It is-
loved.
so up your alley. It is the
It is,
exact
100%.
subject matter that I thought you would love. And so when you kept telling me, I hate this movie, and then you watch it and you continue saying, I was like, God damn it, really?
Well, in my defense, I never told you that I didn't like it. I never said those words. I just
Oh,
was
you-
very, very
You
arbitrary
were
and very
vague, and I drew
sneaky.
a conclusion. I'm like,
Super
oh, you
vague.
hated
You
it, huh?
drew-
And then you didn't correct me. God damn it!
That's the beauty of seeing my face and me being an actor.
Oh my
I should have
god!
went into acting. I'd have 3 Oscars by now.
I
No,
am-
but this
I'm
movie's
so
fucking
glad.
killer.
I'm so
I
relieved.
loved it. It
yeah.
has one of the best shots from the 90s in it, and then 2 years later we get Zemeckis with What Lies Beneath with another kick-ass shot that
Yes.
so many people still talk about. Yeah, Contact is 2 fucking thumbs up. If there's ever a 4K, it is going in my physical media collection.
I'm buying
I
it for
loved
you.
It.
I'm gonna buy it for you because you.
Soundtrack was great.
Totally
Foster
pulled the-
was great.
pulled
Angela
the
Bassett
rest.
was great. James Woods was great. Scarrett was great. All of it. I was a kid in a candy store when this movie ended. I
Yes!
literally paced around my theater room like, fuck me for being 28 years late to this fucking party.
Oh
Yeah,
my god!
no, Contact is fucking fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic movie.
Oh my god! I'm so happy right now. Yes. Hey man, that's exactly what this podcast is for. So,
Yep.
I'm so elated in this moment, and you're right. It is. Everybody comes together to make this great movie. Jodie Foster, of course, she's amazing. This is
Oh, yeah.
This is the 5th movie of hers we've chosen because we love her so
Yeah.
much. I, in particular, love her a lot, but we're pretty evenly spaced on our picks because I have picked Inside
Oh, yeah.
Man and Silence of the Lambs. You have picked A Very Long Engagement and Maverick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot get over. You love this movie. I'm so happy right now.
Yeah, I rented it one morning, I think at like 9 a.m., and I was completely glued to my seat. I could not take my eyes off the screen. And I loved all of it. It's just, it was so fascinating, and just all of the when they get the map out of the code and the way that they
Oh yeah,
the
that was
whole
cool.
the message being sent is a Hitler message was just like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
And then oh yeah, no, it's super fucking awesome. It's so good, and Zemeckis just totally killed it.
And I love
Everybody
how
did. Like, literally
yes,
everybody
did. I love how it's very science heavy without being bogged
Yeah.
down with it.
Totally.
I
yeah.
like that there's technical aspects to this movie where it feels very real. It feels like they did their research. And I love that we feel like we're truly following these scientists along.
Definitely. Yeah.
And Tom Skerritt, we talked about him before, playing he's kind of an antagonist to Ellie this whole entire movie. And
Big time.
he's Dallas, the captain in Alien, which was one of my previous picks.
Yeah.
He's Viper in Top Gun. And
Yeah.
then he was
Wow, yeah.
in the show Picket Fences for a lot of years. He's been around for a long time. And he and John Hurt kind of reunited on this film, even though they don't share any scenes, because John Hurt was also in Alien. He plays Kane. He plays the victim of the facehugger in Alien. Everybody knows him.
Yeah, you do.
There's a very famous table scene with him.
Fuck yeah, there is.
He is very famous for The Elephant Man. He was also in the Harry Potter series as Mr. Ollivander, the wand purveyor.
Mm-hmm.
And David Morse plays Ellie's father in this movie in the early scenes when she's a young child. We both really like David Morse. He's a cool character actor.
Oh, yeah.
He was Ed Harris's second in command in The Rock.
Yeah.
Love him in that. And then he also plays a small role in The Long Kiss Goodnight. He's the one who she thinks is her fiance.
That's right. Yeah.
And then William Fichtner is in this film. We love him too. He's been in a lot of our picks because he's the pilot in Armageddon.
Yes. Colonel Sharp.
Flyboy here landed us on an iron plate.
How do you know that? Because I'm a genius.
He's also in Black Hawk Down. He plays
yeah.
Phil Dearly in Drowning Mona, one of my previous picks.
Yeah.
He's also in Heat. And for our generation, everybody will recognize him from The Dark Knight, the very first scene. He's the bank manager.
Oh, yeah. You have any idea who you're stealing from? You and your friends are dead.
Oh.
I love that. Love that.
I watched the opening of The Dark Knight on YouTube rather often, actually, because I love that opening so. I love that opening.
It's incredible.
One of my all-time favorite openings of any movie.
Yeah, I think the world over. Like, it's just so,
yeah, exactly.
Killer.
And James V. Hart wrote this movie. I talked about him recently because he also wrote Hook. He wrote Bram Stoker's Dracula and Sahara.
Oh, all right.
Which is another Matthew McConaughey movie.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so Robert Zemeckis, one of my all-time favorite directors. Romancing the Stone, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, What Lies Beneath, A Christmas Carol, and all the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah.
I think I'll just go ahead and celebrate his entire filmography on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. But you don't like Forrest Gump, which blows my mind.
I don't at all, even though Alan Silvestri also scored that film of his.
Yeah.
Alan Silvestri's score in this movie is gorgeous.
Hell yeah.
He also scored The Abyss, Serendipity, Ferngully, Practical Magic, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Overboard, Romancing the Stone, The Bodyguard.
Oh my gosh.
Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And Predator.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Alan Silvestri is really underrated. Not enough cinemaphiles talk about him when we talk about great composers.
No, you're absolutely right.
Man, I had this whole entire defense prepped for when you tried to tear this movie down. I was going to say all these things about how great it is. Oh, you freed up so much of my time to talk about behind-the-scenes stuff now.
Perfect.
And you're right. Speaking of Robert Zemeckis, though, there is a scene in this film that is absolutely incredible. And it involves a medicine cabinet mirror. And 28 years later, people still talk about this and post it online because it's such a cool way to shoot this. And the way he did it was filming it like a normal shot and then putting a blue screen within that medicine cabinet and then flipping it.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
So a lot of it is real and then just used a little bit of VFX in the end of it. So very, very cool shot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I did something similar to that. I did a Funny or Die project that was a Halloween POV thing, and it was supposed to be a one-taker, and it was edited to be one take, but I remember when we set up a certain moment in it, and then when I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. The blue screen is supposed to be one shot. I wonder how this is going to look out. And then when I saw it, I was like, holy shit. Like, it actually worked so well.
Nice.
So it's, oh, yeah. I'll have to find, I cannot remember the name of it. There wasn't anybody, like, any big names in it, but it was, like a slasher parody something or other. I'll have to find it online and send it to you. But this shot, and like I mentioned earlier before, 2 years later, he does the one in What Lies Beneath.
Right.
And I'll never forget seeing What Lies Beneath for the first time with my mother and my sister. And when we were walking out of the theater, my sister goes, John, you know what shot was my favorite? And I was like, which one? She goes, when the camera comes under the floor and looks up at Michelle Pfeiffer, that was the coolest shot I've ever seen.
Yes.
I'm like, hell yeah. I love it. It was so great.
And we talked about that actually for my pick of What Lies Beneath during our first horror month.
First year?
Yeah,
first horror month.
$100 million movie.
It's
better have had a cool shot in it.
Yeah. Totally. No, it is. That's an amazing shot. And this one in Contact too. Like, I've seen it come through Facebook threads of videos, and it's like, 1997, and they had this kind of technology. It's like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So good, and the whole movie is actually quite gorgeous. I really like the cinematography in this film.
Oh, yeah.
And the cool thing is, which I think it'll make you love this movie even more, is that it's based on a book by Carl Sagan.
Hell yeah.
It's a novel of his, and so they adapted it into a screenplay. He was heavily involved in the production of this film. Now, Carl Sagan, a lot of you might recognize the name. He was an astronomer who helped make astronomy very popular in our culture itself, and he wrote a lot about extraterrestrial life and his belief that there are other intelligent life forms in our universe. And he was also very famously an atheist, so he got a lot of press in the 80s and 90s because of all that. And he wrote amazing scientific books about astronomy and our universe in general, including a book called Cosmos. And so,
oh yeah, I've flipped through that one.
Oh yeah, I have that book too. And so yes, Carl Sagan, he's up there with like Stephen Hawking in terms of contributions to our pop culture and just general knowledge of astronomy outside of scientists, right?
Hell yeah.
And so Jodie Foster actually visited with Carl Sagan and Dr. Jill Tarter, who was the director of SETI at the time.
Oh, nice.
And Carl Sagan held a symposium for the entire cast and crew to outline the history of astronomy to help them out.
Oh, wow.
Which would have been amazing. That would have been so
Yeah.
fun. And Carl was actually supposed to be in this movie.
Oh, no way.
But unfortunately, he died in the middle of production. He had cancer.
Damn.
He was supposed to be a member of the committee that selected an occupant for the machine. But unfortunately,
cool.
he was too sick at the time, and they couldn't film him with it. But he was...
That's too bad.
Yeah, but as the author of this story, he did play a big role in the production, which I always appreciate for any author being able to do that.
Hell yeah.
So this is a really weird connection. Robert Zemeckis initially wanted Sidney Poitier to play the president, but
Oh, cool.
Sidney turned him down for a role in The Jackal that starred Richard Gere and Bruce Willis. Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey dropped out of the lead role of The Jackal in order to be in this movie. So they
whoa.
swapped cast members for these films.
Yeah. Wild.
Matthew made the right call. Unfortunately, Sidney did not because The Jackal is ridiculous.
Never saw The Jackal.
Oh, Richard Gere trying to have an Irish accent ruins the entire film.
Oh, well, all right. Bad accent movie future.
Yes, definitely. So Robert Zemeckis was a little bit at a loss because he didn't know who was going to play the president. But shortly after that, a meteor from Mars came to Earth. Bill Clinton, who was the president at the time, gave this speech about the Mars rock.
Oh.
Robert Zemeckis says, I swear to God, it was like it was scripted for this movie. When he said the line, "We will continue to listen closely to what it has to say," I almost died. I stood there with my mouth hanging
wow.
open.
That is nuts.
Is why we have video speeches of Bill Clinton in this movie, and none of that is edited. That was his real speech.
Whoa, holy shit.
Cool.
That is nuts. I literally am watching it and I'm like, damn, okay, so Obama wasn't the first celebrity president. Like, I literally was thinking, like...
I remember Clinton, he played the saxophone.
I mean, obviously a lot of other movies use presidential stuff like
Speaking
that. But
of
I was
Forrest
like,
Gump.
Did they... yeah, but I was like, did they really get Bill Clinton to say the shit? Was he
Right,
still the
right,
president in 97? Or, like, was this afterward?
No,
I really was trying to put it together.
So he was president until 2000, and he actually...
Right.
Those are real press conferences that they just...
Man.
stole the footage from and put it in the movie because it worked.
Perfect. Hey, that's public record. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay for that.
And the footage actually caused some controversy, especially because they used CNN's logo in the movie itself.
Oh.
And so moving forward, major news networks wouldn't allow that to happen. And CNN specifically banned the use of its logo in fictional movies so people didn't get the wrong ideas. And
Interesting.
But all of those statements from President Bill Clinton were real life statements.
That is nuts.
Cool.
Next time I watch this, I'm going to pay more attention to what he has to say then.
Yeah,
because I mean, not that I wasn't, but it's still kind of like,
No,
like I said,
it just seemed
half
like,
the time
oh.
I'm like, how did they get Bill Clinton to say this shit?
And remember, this is a couple years after Forrest Gump, where they edited the lips of JFK and Richard Nixon when Forrest is meeting them. So you're like, oh, okay, they did something similar. You know, we have James Woods sitting next to Bill Clinton while he's talking, right? And so I just thought it was quote unquote movie magic. Nope.
Same. Wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
And William Fichtner's character is blind. He's a blind astrophysicist who works with Ellie. He is named Kent Clark, which is obviously a play on Superman. But his character is actually based on a real-life blind SETI scientist named Kent Carruthers.
Oh.
And did that machine look familiar at all to you?
Yeah, it looked a little familiar.
Because that 4-ringed system that the machine is based on, the same concept was used in Event Horizon that was released 35 days later in 1997.
Yeah.
Just used in very different ways.
Majorly, yes.
We'll talk about that when we discuss Event Horizon in the future.
Hell yeah, we will.
Yes. And for that scene where they're driving into the Institute and there are all those fans and protesters and just citizenry out and big mob, right? When Jodie Foster's driving in, the production team just put out a call for UFO enthusiasts and they all showed up in their own costumes.
Awesome.
They also brought
So
their own
cool.
props.
Oh, wow.
Which
Damn.
I love. Enthusiastic extras like that can be a lot of fun.
Oh, I can only imagine how much fun that day was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're outside.
For everybody. Yeah.
It's got to be a good time. And Jodie Foster enjoyed her time on this film so much and loved learning from Carl Sagan and about SETI that in 2011, she was actually part of the group of private donors that saved SETI's telescope array in California.
What? Hell yeah.
Which is really important that they did that because in 2020, the main structure of the antenna at that large dish in Costa Rica, the one that's also from GoldenEye, that's a real dish. The antenna structure actually collapsed due to no maintenance. They weren't maintaining it, actually. And also, especially after Hurricane Maria in 2017, it had been damaged. And so that thing basically fell apart. So it's good that they saved the antenna array in California because that line of communication or that listening device is now gone for us. And this movie was nominated for an Oscar for Best Sound.
Oh, cool.
Which I totally agree with. I think a lot of the space sounds are really important and really well done. The message is so cool. There are a lot of sounds in this movie that make this story, and so I think it's a well-deserved nomination.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. I didn't know it was an Oscar nominee.
And lastly, there are 3 acts of this movie, and each one begins with a zoomed-out shot of some celestial body, followed by a really tight shot of Ellie's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And that is because Carl Sagan said that humans are a way for the universe to experience itself.
Ooh.
So that is Contact. I am thrilled and now need to retract many of my statements in this episode all the way to the back to the beginning. I'm so relieved and happy that you actually loved this movie. I think I even told my mom that you hated this movie this week.
Yeah, I imagine you told a couple people.
I think I did. I think I told one of my sisters too. I was like, I gotta record.
And I never said I hated it.
No,
never
I just jumped
said it.
to that conclusion.
Yep.
Well, I am so happy to stand corrected today.
Yeah.
So, and we talked about What Lies Beneath, Robert Zemeckis' film in 2000 having a $100 million budget.
Oh, yeah.
Contact came out in 1997 and it had a $90 million budget, which...
Wow.
It's a sci-fi film. It makes more sense. It had a lot of visual effects.
Yeah, it did.
In the U.S., it made $101 million, which,
Yeah.
Worldwide, it made $171, which isn't bad, but not great. But I remember this doing really well on DVD.
Yeah, me too. I remember when it came out, a lot of people were like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah. Well, at least I know what I can get you for your next birthday when this comes out on 4K.
There you go.
And I'll always remember that you, in fact, love it, and it'll make me so happy.
Yeah.
I will be thrilled to buy that 4K for you.
Yeah, I'll be thrilled to receive it.
Oh, man. So this week we both loved our sci-fi movies with daddy issues. Yes!
Yeah.
And I agree. I do think this was a perfect pairing. They are a bit different in their storylines, but their themes are really nicely tied together, I think. There are a lot of similarities in the lower layers of these films, and I really liked putting them together.
Yeah, definitely. Both great flicks.
Although I am glad that we don't record our podcasts with CB radios.
Yeah, same. That would be ridiculous.
Right? And so that is Contact and Frequency. God, I was all prepared to ask our audience which one they liked more and who they thought was right. And now they can just go into both movies knowing that they are loved equally by the two of us.
Yes, indeed.
Unfortunately, neither of these movies are available to stream anywhere, but they are available to rent.
That's what I did with both.
And John, would you watch Frequency with your grandma?
Yeah, I would have watched it with my grandma. I think she would have enjoyed it. It's
Good.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
And V, would you watch Contact with your grandmother?
Absolutely. And I know my dad loves this film. He's the one who introduced me to it.
Nice.
Yours is a bit darker. I mean, it has a serial killer in it
Yes.
after all. I would say 15 and above.
Yeah, I think that's a good age range for that one. Definitely.
For mine, I would actually say 17 and above just because it is a long movie. It's a bit science heavy. It's a drama. I think a lot of teenagers, like myself, would find it boring.
I think so, yeah, but it isn't.
It's not at all. Oh, I'm so glad you love this movie. So those are our Sci-Fi Daddy Issue movies this week. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I'm sure you can all hear the relief in my voice. Especially
Certainly.
because of the episode we're doing next week, right, John?
Oh, yeah.
You want to tell everybody what we're doing? I'm so excited.
I am too. Yeah, next week's going to be...
Entertaining.
It's going to be something.
It is.
Yeah, the theme for the week is movies we hate, although the we hate is I hate V's pick, and V hates my pick.
You got
And
that
the pick that I
goddamn right. Hate your movie
And my
so
pick
much.
for movies we hate is the Sean and Marlon Wayans led, Keenan Ivory Wayans directed, comedy classic, White Chicks.
Oh, that movie's so stupid.
I've been watching White Chicks for 21 years, and I still laugh my ass off.
Oh, God. Okay.
So if you care to follow along with us and White Chicks, the PG-13 version is on Netflix. Unless you're like me, you got the unrated, uncut version, which is 7 minutes longer. Then you can watch your DVD copy. But that is what my pick will be for next week. And I hate V's pick. And V, why don't you tell everybody what movie I absolutely hate that I will have to rewatch because you like it for some fucking weird reason.
I'm just so thankful I don't have to watch an extra 7 minutes of your dumbass film.
Yeah. And if there's an unrated version of yours, I'll never watch it either.
Okay, well, the good news is it's also on Netflix, which is ironic
Yes.
considering how much you hate Netflix as a streaming service.
Big time. It's just all
Because-
falling into place.
I chose the Jason Sudeikis, Jennifer Aniston starring We're the Millers.
Yay.
For some inexplicable reason, John does not like Jason Sudeikis. We can all shame him later.
It's not inexplicable.
So
Very
yes,
It's explicable.
next week we are doing movies you hate. It is the very first time on this podcast that we're trying this format. It is
Yeah.
going to be a new experience for all of us, folks. So please tune in for that. John and I actually are really looking forward to this. We think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to go well, and we're going to do these episodes again in the future.
We might. We might.
So please tune in next Wednesday for that. In the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. We're really working on getting 50 reviews on Apple Podcasts. Even just the 5-star reviews count. So please go ahead and jump on Apple Podcasts app for that. And also, always feel free to reach out to us at Movies You Miss Pod on all the social media and at Gmail. We love hearing from all of you and love the fact that you continue to tune in with us every week. 3.5 years later, and we're still loving doing this podcast, although next week might change things.
Yep, it might.
But until then, we love to close out this podcast with film is a form of art, and in art, every opinion is valid. Except if you think.
The romance aspect was necessary in Contact. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't like it.
Do you think that they had no chemistry?
Yeah, they totally didn't. They were both wooden with each other. It just never...
I agree.
None of it really made me be like, oh, all right. There was no...
Spark.
No spark. There was no pheromones flying.
Mhm.
Nothing.
No, I agree.
Boring.
I didn't dislike it this time around as much as I have in the past. This time around, it didn't bother me that much, but I can totally understand where you're coming from.
All right, sweet.
But I agree, there's an argument to be made that it wasn't necessary in the story. I personally think it helped. I thought it was there.
Oh,
It
okay.
did add a little bit, but I totally understand your argument for sure.
Sweet.
All right, everyone. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody.